Well, hello everyone. This is Fadi, and of course, with us here in studio virtually is our dear brother Joel Richardson. And I hope you guys been enjoying what has been covered in the last couple of episodes, specifically talking about various biblical prophecies like Daniel 11, Ezekiel 38 and 39, Isaiah 14, Isaiah 19, and how those could apply to just the current developments in the Middle East, geopolitically speaking, of course. Well, we will be remiss if we don't bring Trump into this whole equation, and that's what we will be talking about today. How does this Trump presidency now apply to any or maybe all of what is happening or possibly could happen? Of course, who's better to discuss that than Joel himself? So, Joel, what say you when it comes to this recent development, when it comes to Trump winning the or re-winning the presidency in this case? Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, President Trump is he's such a wild card, and he's difficult to predict. That said, I think it is not that difficult to predict some of the things that he's going to try to do in the Middle East, and which in all likelihood will succeed in. And the first of those is the normalization of relationship between Saudi Arabia and Israel. I have no question that Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, will be applying a lot of energy, putting a lot of energy forward there. Again, normalization of relations with Saudi. And a big part of that, again, is security issues, concerns with Iran, but also it's a tremendously beneficial economic agreement. So Saudi obviously is building NEOM up there. This is the brainchild of MBS, who will soon be king. And you know, they're basically, if you think about it, the kingdom is basically competing with Egypt, because once you have this mega city up there, it's going to become a massive shipping port. They're going to basically reopen the King's Highway, the train lines from Saudi Arabia up through Jordan, to use the ports in Israel and Haifa. And they're going to start competing in a lot of ways with the Suez Canal and global shipping routes and this sort of thing. So tremendous economic benefits there. And I have no question Trump will spearhead the efforts to see that happen. But probably what the Saudis will do, because, you know, the Saudis have a very, when I say the Saudis, I mean the royal family, they have a very interesting relationship with the Palestinian issue. On one hand, they have to stand with the Ummah, you know, with their brothers and their Muslim brothers and sisters and this sort of thing. But they also know, they know the game. They know about Hamas. They know the cynical game that these guys are playing. And they know that Israel really aren't the bad guys that Hamas wants to make them out to be. So the Saudis kind of have to play a bit of both sides on that point. But in all likelihood, we will see efforts with the normalization of Saudi and Israel. We'll see efforts to try to establish some type of a solution to the Palestinian conflict. That may be a two-state solution. There may even be discussion about sharing Jerusalem and rebuilding the temple and this type of thing. Obviously, all of that would have profound implications in terms of the fulfillment of biblical prophecy, or it could take some time. It could be pushed out. But I think there's no question that that will be front and center with the Trump presidency, hands down. I'm curious what being from the Middle East yourself, being a Saudi, off the top of your head, what would you think would be one of the next major things to look for?
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to a normalization between the Saudis and Israel, and it looks like there has been some recent development. At least the Haaretz, newspaper is stating something to that extent in terms of a deal for releasing hostages and other things. And of course, this will be really a ground basically shattering for, as you know, Saudis still have a lot of conservatives, those who are more sympathetic to Daesh, ISIS. And I'm worried now that the recent development in Syria will empower them and give them like this fuel to feel like, you know, we need to rise and focus on the reestablishment of the Islamic Caliphate and so on and so forth. So, the Crown Prince, and I'm so excited about his vision and his open-mindedness, has some work to do here, and obviously, and a very fine balance to walk. I'm thinking personally that part of the negotiations, maybe Saudi with another nation or two, can take over the, let's say, guarding or security, basically of the Gaza Strip. Maybe that will be part of the deal to, in order at least to show in good faith that we are taking care of the Palestinians that way. I don't know. What do you think about that?
It's on paper that sounds like a very realistic scenario, and Saudi has even thrown that out there. I've heard them reference maybe it would be some type of a Muslim or Arab-led coalition, military coalition there in Gaza that would promise Israel security. The problem is, I don't think Israel would go for it right now. Um, I think the atmosphere in Israel is, when there's a long season of peace, the left in particular really pushes for trusting the more moderate surrounding Arab nations and entities. After October 7th, trust is really low. So it's an enigma to try to figure out what's going to happen with Gaza. There's no easy solutions. I actually met with the IDF branch to talk about, sending in humanitarian aid, workers and different things like that to help bless the suffering people of Gaza in the aftermath of this war. And they did sort of share their potential plan. They've got 3 or 4 options, but the goal for the Israelis is to essentially piece by piece establish zones of peace and areas that will be restored, and little by little to do that it's not something they can just send in an army and overnight everything's going to be peaceful. So we'll see what happens. It's going to require some real creative
Yeah.
diplomacy. The other issue that I think is fascinating, because you and I are kind of in the same general age range. I'm, conservative wise, I'm more of a libertarian, classic libertarian conservative. I'm much more of a Reagan conservative. So today, Trump and a lot of the new conservatives are isolationists. They believe like, hey, just stay out of wars, this type of thing. And I get that sentiment. I think oftentimes we get involved in way too many wars. But I think there is a time that it's okay to expend American resources to fight, for example, against Russia. And so a lot of conservatives today think that Ukraine is a big waste of our time, drain on our resources, which it may be, but I actually still fully believe that the United States should be standing firm against Russia. And so that's something that Trump is going to work hard to end as quickly as possible, the Ukraine war. It's actually one foreign policy decision that I'm actually more in agreement with the left on, because strangely enough, Biden and the left in supporting Ukraine, yes, I know it's a lot of money, but they're actually functioning much more like old school Reagan conservatives than the modern isolationist conservatives that we'll likely see emerge with Trump. So that'll be interesting to see what he does with Ukraine, how that affects Russia, and how that affects really just the whole Middle East and the world.
Yeah, and then I see your point, of course, because what happened is whenever there is a vacuum, these nations will try to fill that vacuum. Look at how Iran filled that vacuum immediately to their advantage for a while, and now, of course, things have shifted. And the same thing, that's what Russia did. I'm also of the mindset that something has to be done about the nuclear power, or at least the nuclear ambition that Iran is gearing towards. The idea of ignoring that, even for the next 4 years or 8 years, whatever the case might be, you and I know that nations like that are so patient and they will wait for the right moment. Yeah.
And Iran we've been hearing for 10 years, any day now, Iran will have nuclear capabilities. I have no question that if they truly were about to reach that place, that Israel would move. And especially now that Iran is weakened, I think I believe that Israel will act, whether or not they have Trump's approval or not. As much as Trump is an isolationist, I think he'll wink at Israel and give them behind the closed doors approval to do whatever they have to do. We started out this discussion talking about biblical prophecy in Ezekiel 38, 39, what's interesting in that prophecy is that it seems to be Turkey that's leading. And although Iran is there and it's included, they don't seem to be leading. And so, interestingly enough, I think that with Israel's victory in the October 7th war over Iran, I think we've seen the humbling of Iran that is necessary to set biblical prophecy into position, if you will, to be fulfilled. So Iran's been humbled. Turkey's the next big monster. And it's going to be, and of course, everything with Syria. It's going to be fascinating to watch and see what unfolds over the next few years with the Trump presidency.
That is true, and it's still my dream, of course, to see a normalization of relationships between the Saudi government and Israel. And I'm thinking about it from a tourism standpoint and visiting Holy Land and having basically a stop at Mount Sinai and tying all that biblical history together. That will be so cool. And but again, it remains to be seen. Obviously, I'm curious if you think Iran will cozy up to the Turkish government now, based on what's going on in the region.
Yeah, they will. Now, look, Iran and Turkey has this long history of competition. They both want to be the alpha dog. They want to be the top dog throughout the region. But now that Iran is humbled, one minute they say they're friends, then they're sort of competitors and this sort of thing. So that wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, listen, with regard to Saudi Arabia, and I'll just end this right here. As you said, you've got folks there that are the Wahhabis or the Daesh sympathizers and this sort of thing. But the majority of the people in Saudi, in my experience, are so incredibly hospitable, such warm people. I have nothing but love for the Saudis. And I really do hope and pray for the best for them, for prosperity, and for all of their plans to be successful. And it's been a genuine honor and a privilege for me just to visit the kingdom and to see the beauty there and to meet all of the wonderful people. It really is a genuine blessing.
Amen, brother. Thank you so much, of course, for all that you do. And I will concur with you and second that as well. And we pray, of course, for peace and prosperity for the region. And the most important peace and prosperity that I pray for is them knowing the Lord, who is, the King of all kings and the Lord of all lords. And of course, what a blessing indeed for all of us to know him. And that's my prayer. Thank you, brother, for all that you do. Thank you for investing your time in the last few episodes with us here. And I pray that we can continue along this line next time, and we'll do more of these because I know people are hungry to learn about the truth and look at these biblical prophecies, not just with a blind eye, but maybe at least trying to put the pieces together. And I find the way you do that is very fascinating. Thanks, brother.
Thanks so much, Fadi. Lord bless you.
Yes, sir. Same to you. Everyone, thank you so much. Please, I encourage you, of course, to go and check Joel's website again. Joel, what is your website name, please, for everybody to hear?
joelstrumpet.com.
Very good. Thank you, brother. Thank you, everyone. This is Fadi. Over and out. God bless.
All right.
Very good, my brother. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, share, and comment. And ring the bell so you will be notified when we release new content. Our mission is to reach Muslims with the gospel of Jesus Christ and help Christians engage with their Muslim neighbors. If you want to join us in this life-changing work, please support us on patreon.com/CIRA International, or just click on the link below.